Everybody got a target tonight. Everybody come along for the ride. All you studs and you duds and you lady, let's fire. Grip the moment like you're gripping the earth. Feel the weight and you're feeling the girth. Now you get it, now you're feeling your worth. Feel the sound you used to make when everything used to hurt. It goes, oh. Dun 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 dun. No time to rest. Dun 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 dun. Just do your best. Dun 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 dun. Oh, what you hear is not a test. We're only here to make you. We're only here to make you. We're only here to make you. We're only here to make you go. Hello, and today we are doing championship predictions for match day 32, and that was the song of the midweek. It is Go by Chemical Brothers. What a tune. Now, the theme of the week this time is going to be streams and rivers. It's going to be an interesting one. Let's have some flow in these games. And what is the colour of the week, midweek? It's going to be light blue. So let's get into the games to do for this week. And we will also touch on, of course, our fantasy team, which played the chip last week of away days. And I tell you what, it certainly did work out. It's probably one of our biggest green arrows, I think, for the whole season. We'll get to that at the end, though. So let's do my predictions first off, and we will look back just quickly at how we did last week. So looking at that, it wasn't amazing. We didn't call that Forest win against Blackburn. We didn't call that 0-0 in the Millwall game. We said a Bournemouth win. Of course, QPR won. We said that Brentford wouldn't lose, and they did lose. Watford was bang on the money, 8 points. Thank you very much. Norwich City, we said 2-0, not 1-0. We said 3-1 to Swansea, was it? Or 2-0 to Swansea, one of the two. But it didn't matter because it was 4-1 to Huddersfield. So, yeah, basically a lot of incorrect results. So, let's move on to this week. But we've got Derby against Huddersfield to kick us off. So, that should be an interesting one. On the Friday night, the Tuesday night, let's get back to basics. Yeah, and Derby come into this off the back of quite an interesting result, really. I mean, I think in their game, they probably would have been thinking 3 points was like exactly what they need. And, you know, at times they look like they might get back into it earlier on against us. But fair play, we just saw it out, and maybe we were lucky with that goal that got ruled out just before half-time, and Backman made a great save to deny that one going straight in from the corner. You know, we didn't have anyone covering our near post, so it wasn't a bad strategy, but it was saved in the end. So it will be interesting to see if Derby can bounce back from that defeat, because before that they were on a pretty good run of form, and they faced Huddersfield, who just absolutely demolished Swansea City. Absolutely incredible. Can I just say, what a goal by Duane Holmes. That finish is goal of the season contender, 100%. Brilliant, brilliant strike. So far out, and he just loops it into that top corner. Fantastic. And Huddersfield will be hoping they can keep on their form, but it does mean they travel to Derby this game, and, you know, Derby with a win can actually go above Huddersfield. They are separated by 2 points, but I just fancy Huddersfield. I think Derby, they are slightly better recently, but Huddersfield will take so much from that result. They hadn't been much like that for a long time, and I think they're going to be on the road to redemption. So I'll say Derby County 0, Huddersfield Town 1, and the only goal in the game I reckon will come from midfielder that is Bakuna. Bakuna Matata. What a wonderful phrase. Okay, so let's move on to the next game. So by the way, yeah, that's a clean sheet for Huddersfield, and a clean sheet for my guy that is Pippa for Huddersfield. Come on, lad. But moving on swiftly, we've got now a game that is going to be between, first of all, it is Middlesbrough, and then they're up against Bristol City. Now, Bristol City have appointed Nigel Pearson, What do I think of this? Well, fair play. It's a good appointment. I would be happy to. I think any Championship team would be happy to have him in their team. He's a straight thinking manager. He did well for us when he came in the Premier League, but we foolishly axed him with 2 games to go. Would we have stayed up? Possibly not. But the point is, he was still doing a good job, and considering where we were at the start of the season, he really did transform our form. But no, the point is, that's a great appointment from the Robins there, and they have been, one of the worst form sides in the league. It's got to be said. The Robins, they lost again in the last game to Barnsley. The goal, of course, from Carlton Morris once again, and they have to go to Middlesbrough and really get a result. But we know that Borough can be frustrating, and they can, on times, be surprising. They got a very good win up against Reading. It's Reading who have actually been starting to struggle, and it's a similar story for Brentford, and I'll get to that in a second. But, at home, Reading are just starting to lose their momentum, and that was the perfect opportunity for Middlesbrough to prey on it. And Ashley Fletcher is in a good run of form, so he'll be going into this one hoping for some goals against a Bristol City team that is still defensively problematic and quite low in confidence. Pearson, we know, can help defences, and that's what he did when he came in at Watford and shored up that team. But it might take a while for them to get going under the new manager. You could call it new manager bounce, but I just favour Middlesbrough to get the result here. So I'll say Middlesbrough 1, Bristol City 0. And the only goal of the game for Middlesbrough, let's say it comes from the defender, that is Fry. Alright, now we move on to the game between Birmingham and Norwich City. Now, Birmingham have had a pretty poor season under Ita Karanka, it's got to be said. They've not been scoring goals, and that is a bit of a problem. And they are sitting in a pretty foreboding position of 21st, just above that drop zone. They need to be getting results to keep themselves out of trouble, and they did do that, to be fair to them, in the last game up against Sheffield Wednesday. A 6-pointer. And the goal courtesy of Scott Hogan. It's usually him if it is anyone for Birmingham. But, this is a tough game for them. Norwich have been high-flying. They've had a lot of success recently through Timu Puki and through Emi Buendia. So the chances are Birmingham won't be able to stop the Canaries, and they could stretch their lead, depending on what Brentford do. They could stretch their lead, of course, at the top of the Championship to an amazing 10 points. Let's hope it isn't the case for Watford's sake, but they are starting to, fly away with it a little bit. So I'll say Birmingham do lose this one, but hopefully I'm proven wrong. Birmingham City 1, Norwich City 3. And goal scorers in this one, I think there'll be a brace from Timu Puki to start off the day on the right foot. And Birmingham get back a consolation. And that consolation will come from... let's say it's going to be the man that scored in the defeat that was, of course, against Bournemouth earlier on in the month, and that is Scott Hogan again. But then Norwich see off the win, and they get their 3rd goal with a strike from Max Aarons. Alright, now let's go for the game to predict between Rotherham and Nottingham Forest. Now this game is interesting because it does see 2 teams that are pretty low in the table, but recently Nottingham Forest have climbed up there. They're now in 17th, and they have got some good results against the likes of Bournemouth and now Blackburn. So fair play to Nottingham Forest. They've just started to get more solid, and with Glenn Murray playing, with James Garner getting an actual chance in the team, he's actually improving that team, and it's basically a bit of a Brighton hybrid, that one. Brighton 2.0 is Nottingham Forest right now, with the likes of, at times, it's Guyton Bong, you've got Knockhart, you've got Glenn Murray, and of course Chris Hughton. But it was a very impressive result against Blackburn. Mighton with the goal. And they've still got very good players off the bench. Lyle Taylor, Luke Freeman. So they're in a good position, Nottingham Forest. But their opponents this week, Rotherham, are not as good as them in the fact that they are in the bottom 3. 3 defeats on the bounce will sting for that team. Before that, though, they were in really good form and they were showing a lot of fight to see those wins over the line. And I don't know what's gone wrong with Rotherham recently, but they have had tough games, and the last one certainly was that against Norwich City. Not much of the ball, just 39%, and they'll really want to have more of it in this home game. But I think this is a chance for both teams to get points. So I'll say Rotherham 2, Nottingham Forest 2. And goal scorers in this game, let's say... Ooh, that's a tough one, actually. I actually don't think there's going to be a defender that scores in this game. Instead, I shall say that Rotherham go ahead through their forward. That is, of course, called Freddie Ladapo. So Freddie gets them in front, and then it's a 2-0 lead for the home side with a goal from Michael Ihiwike. Is it Ihiwike? I don't even know. Let me just confirm that for you guys. The defender. I said there wouldn't be a defender, but there is. Michael Ihiwike. Basically, yeah, 28 years old, and defender there for Rotherham, number 20. He's going to get the second goal to make it 2-0, but it's going to be a great comeback from Forest. They make it 2-2, but first of all, they score their goal to give them a bit of hope, and that hope will be started with a goal from the defender that is going to be, in fact, who is it? It is Carl Jenkinson. I know. He hasn't got many minutes recently, but I reckon he will. I reckon he's going to eventually. And against Blackburn, it was the defence of Ribeiro, Worrell, Figueiredo, Christie. And Carl Jenkinson's been on the bench a lot recently, but he's going to get his chance this time, and he's going to score. And then I reckon that Forest will get their second goal to make it a great comeback draw, I should say. And that goal will come this time from forward that goes by the name of Lyle Taylor. Surely he's going to be playing alongside Glenn Murray, because that would be a great partnership. Anyway, let's move on to the next game to predict, and that is, of course, going to be between Luton and Millwall Town. This could be quite a dirty one. I've got a feeling there'll be tackles flying in, and there'll be certainly no giving up of the result. It will be a big battle at Kenilworth Road. But it does see the team in 11th face the team in 16th. Luton have slightly dropped off a bit in the last 5 or 6 games. Millwall, on the other hand, have actually steadied the ship. 3 wins in their last 5, 2 draws, and a few improved performances. But the draw against Wycombe, they'll have wanted a win there, so it's not ideal stuff. However, I have just got a feeling that Luton will shoot themselves in the foot and lose this one. But it'll be a tight one. It could be hard to call. I'm just going to sway towards Luton Town 1, Millwall 2. And goal scorers in this game, well, let's say that Millwall take the lead through the man that used to be in my fantasy team. It's Jed Wallace with another penalty. What a legend. But then the equaliser for the Hatters will come from the man that plays in midfield. It is the number 17, Pelly Ruddock. And then I reckon that it will be stolen from Luton, and it will be an absolute gutting home defeat for them, with a goal scored for Millwall by none other than Matt Smith. All right, let's move on to the game next. What was that? Next. That is between, of course, in this game week 20 or 32, Wycombe against Reading. And I've got a feeling this is going to be a Reading win. Reading will be disappointed by their recent form. They are still in 5th, but 3 defeats in the last 5 is not good, and it's not promotion form. But ultimately, Wycombe, they put up a fight, but Reading have got the better players on the day. And I fancy another absolute masterclass from the forward, Lucas João. So I think that Reading will get the job done here, and it will be at the Wycombe Stadium, that is Adams Park. I'll say it's going to be Wycombe Wanderers 0, Reading 1. And the only goal comes from midfielder Michael Elise. Come on, Elise, do me the bits for fantasy football. Anyway, let's move on to the game that is going to be between Brentford and Sheffield Wednesday. Now, Brentford, what has gone on with them? Absolute, bottle jobs. They've had 3 defeats in the last 3 games, and they were looking so good before that. They went on that amazing unbeaten run. It's absolutely incredible. And Sheffield Wednesday, well, they have done well, to be fair, considering where they were at the start of the season and the points deduction. They've climbed up that table, and they're only joint, or second bottom, so there's still a chance to get out of this situation, but they need to keep getting wins, and they haven't got that in the last 2. So, yeah, I think this is a tough one for Brentford. You might say Sheffield Wednesday will join the rest of the gang and upset Brentford, but I just think surely they've got to, at home, respond in kind. So I'm going to say Brentford to win this one by 3-1. And goal scorers in this one, I reckon, will be, first of all, Brian... is it Brian? Yeah. Brian Mbeumo, or Mbeumo. It kind of is Mbeumo, really. The midfielder will score 1 goal, not just one, not 2, but 1 goal to get them the opening lead. And then I reckon Sheffield Wednesday will equalise, and it will be through midfielder that is Josh Windass. And then I say that Brentford will go back ahead, and this time it will be through, I don't know. I mean, Ivan Toney's got a slight injury worry, so he might not play this game. If he does play, I don't think he's going to be back in the goals. Instead, their second is going to be scored via Matthias Jensen. So Jensen makes it 2-1 after that equaliser for the away side, the Owls. And then Brentford grab their 3rd goal, and this time it's going to be through the defender that is... actually, no, hang on. Let's say it's going to be... I don't know. Let's say... Yeah, midfielder that is Godos. That is, of course, Saman Godos. All right, let's move on to the game that is going to be between, if I can just find it, it is Swansea and Coventry. This seeds 2 cities, face each other off, and Swansea are pushing for those, automatic places, as are Brentford and Swansea and Watford. I've just said Swansea, but oh well. Coventry, they still have a battle on to stay up. They are just, 4 points away from the likes of, I guess, yeah, I was going to say 4 points away, but it's kind of 4 or 5 points away from the likes of the Rotherhams and the Sheffield Wednesdays. But one slip up, they could be in trouble. And it's a tough one against Swansea, so you'd fancy the home win. I'm going to say Swansea to win this one very narrowly, 1-0. And the only man that scores for the Swans to basically take away what's been a quite poor run of form is going to be the man they seem to be relying on at the minute. It's Connor Horahan. All right, now let's move on to the game that is between, of course, Barnsley and Stoke City. Now, it sees a team from, of course, Yorkshire take on a team from the Midlands. So it could be a feisty one. And I don't know, Barnsley, they've seemed to surprise me. They've got some very good results this season. But I'm just going to favour Stoke because I think the Stoke's away form has been better than their home form, if you get what I mean. So I'm going to fancy Stoke. And I'm going to say it's going to be a narrow 2-1 victory to Stoke City. So Barnsley 1, Stoke 2. And goal scorers for the Potters, I reckon, will be, first of all, Nick Powell. He's done really well recently. He scored a brace in the last game, I do believe. But the second goal for Stoke will be through defender that is, let's say, I'm going to say the number 12, James Chester. And then the consolation that's scored for Barnsley to bring it back, but it's not enough to change the ultimate result. It's going to be scored by forward, that is, Corley Woodrow. All right, now we move on to the game that's going to be between First of all, Blackburn, and second of all, Watford. Come on, you Horns! Massive game at Ewood Park. It's a tough game, it's got to be said. Blackburn are a good side. They haven't been doing it recently, though, so maybe this is the perfect time to play them. Tony Mowbray's going to be, getting his side ready for this one. And let's be honest, we can't just say that one game is more important than the next. We've got to treat these next two away trips equally as important and got to go for wins in both of them against Blackburn and Bournemouth respectively. Now, Blackburn, obviously, their run has not been that ideal, but their squad is very, very good. Adam Armstrong, danger man. Harvey Elliott, danger man. They've got a lot of danger men. And, they did lose 1-0 out last time out to Forest, but, ultimately we've been on a good run and we don't want that to stop here if we can help it. Ultimately, though, I think with Watford, recently we've started to turn the corner, and that's encouraging. You just feel, we've said it a lot of times this season, but hopefully our season starts here. Our road to recovery, our road to promotion, and for the run-in will start here, and we can hopefully get second spot for the automatic. It's unlikely, but it will save so much hassle, and the playoffs is just a nervous ball of just, I don't know, it's a bag of nerves. It's an absolute stressful thing. So we don't know if it's going to get through the playoffs, if we did get into the playoffs, and it would just be nice to get promoted automatically. But yeah, we've started to draw a few lines in the sand, so to speak, and I just want some more balanced Watford performances now for the rest of the season. If we're not getting results, then that's unfortunate, but if the performances are there, then you've got things to come off from it and things to improve on for the next time. But I think what we've got to do is we've got to remain unpredictable. If we remain unpredictable in our play going forward, then opposition defenders, from their point of view, will have work to do, and we can test those teams, and that's important. And ultimately, in build-up of goals recently, we've seen some very nice contributions from players that have been struggling. Even that Bristol City game, the first goal, great pass from Chalobah to set through Ismail Assar to draw it back for the goal for Ken Sema to tap in, or it was given as an own goal, but you get the gist. And then for the last goal, Andre Gray comes on. He's probably going to have to stay on the bench for the next few weeks because Pedro is doing a much better job. But when he does come on, he makes an impact. He passes the ball really well to Ismail Assar, and on the break shows the composure. And then Sarr, of course, gave it to Zinkernagel to get his first for the 6th goal. So we're putting together the pieces, and we're actually mending some of the previous poor performances from players that have been scapegoated at times in the past, and it's just collective squad happiness, and that's so massive going into these games where they come thick and fast, and you've got so many teams to deal with that are physically tough and also tactically difficult. And I think Blackburn is going to be a very, very tough one. But ultimately, we should be going into this with full confidence in our ability. The last few games have shown that if we give it all, we can get results and we can win these kind of games. We are, of course, Watford, the original family club, and hopefully we can stick together. And in these times of uncertainty, with fans perhaps coming back on the 17th of May, but that's a long way away, provided we stick to the rules. Until then, we've just got to, stay united and also stay very hopeful that we can get promoted. And, people say about the media and, social media how fans are always just blowing things up. They're not as bad as they are. And to some extent, that's the case with these teams from coming down from the Premier League. They expect so much from their clubs, and it's a lot to ask to get straight back promoted. It's a tough division, but we definitely need to be looking to do that, because we've certainly got the squad to do it. And it was really nice to see in the last game against, of course, Derby County, that we used our fullbacks really well. On the left-hand side, you've got Sema and Messina, with Messina on the overlap, and then Sema basically running down the flank to get to the byline, and hasn't been getting in games recently, but he's still been very good across the season. But then, if needed, Messina gives the option on the overlap. And then on the other side, you've got Kiko and Sarr linking up so well. The 1-2s causing defensive problems for the other team. You know the pace of those players is just so good. And Kiko's almost playing on the underlap, so to speak, with Sarr coming a bit wider and Kiko moving inwards to actually get balls into the box from a closer distance. And it just felt like the game against Derby, it was normal service resumed. We've got that winning mentality at the minute and we're playing well with passion. We've got to try and do that every week. The main thing is keeping the confidence up in this team. We've got to stick together. We've got to stick with what we're doing. Don't chop and change too much. And Munoz has got it right tactically, but we've got to stick to this 4-3-3. It seems to be working under this management. And you could say, oh yes, maybe Stipe Perica deserves a few more minutes, and he's been very good when he's been called upon. And maybe Sierralta should come back in, because against Derby we were a bit nervy in the clearances and in the distribution, which Sierralta is much better at. So you would say those tweaks, but pretty much keep it the same, Xisco. We got to just keep on doing what we've been doing recently and hopefully get something out of that game at Blackburn. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. And I think against Derby, one thing to note is that we struggled to dominate defensively from corners, and we need to be physical against this Blackburn team. We know they have threats from set pieces, and that's kind of been a thing all season. From opposition teams, we've struggled to defend set pieces, and we don't really score goals from set pieces ourselves because of the fact that we haven't got that set piece taker, that creative player. But Will Hughes has been much better at that, and hopefully if Zinchenko can get a run in the team, then we can have a bit more of that. But they've got some decent defenders in that team, the likes of Harwood Bellis, the ex-Man City player. They've still got some very, very solid, experienced defenders in that team. And I'm pretty sure they've got Jared Branthwaite as well, a very good player that came from Everton. And Barry Douglas, of course, on loan from Leeds. And I'm not sure if he's made that deal permanent, but he's going to be a threat as well in the box for us to defend. So, yeah, there's a list of things, really, that we need to contend with here. But I'm going to go for the Watford win. We've got to just keep on digging in these games, keep on seeing results out. And the less said about that Ken Sema step over against Bristol City, against Derby, then the better, because that was unfortunate. But the point is, we're doing well. We're seeing out games, and towards the end of that, Kiko and Sarr just lovely corner flagging, and a little nutmeg from the fullback was absolutely beautiful. So just get the results over the line. That's the key message. And Blackburn will be tough, but I'm going to say that Watford do get the results at the end of the day, and it will be Blackburn Rovers 1, Watford 3. Come on, you horns. I'm being optimistic, but you've got to sometimes. So I think that goal scorers here will be, first of all, through, let's say, Harvey Elliott, because we do often concede first. And to be fair, we have started really well in most games, but we still do that a lot where we start slow. So Elliott to get the first goal, and then Watford reply with goals from João Pedro, and then we shall say it's going to be a goal from midfielder for Blackburn's goal scoring is finished. The remaining goals in the game for Watford, I should say, I reckon will be through, hopefully he's playing, but Francisco Sierralta to get his first Watford goal. And then we will say a goal to clinch it. The third one comes from defender. No, I'm joking. Midfielder. That is Tom Cleverley. Captain Cleverley. He's been absolutely working the team hard and running the channels, and hopefully he can get himself a goal. Alright, that wraps up my prediction for Blackburn versus Watford. Not too many games to go now in this predictions video. Up next, though, it is going to be between Preston and QPR. And it's another tough one to call, because on their day, Preston can do well, but on their day, QPR can beat the likes of Brentford, and they also beat Bournemouth. So QPR have had a great upturn in form under Warburton. So I'm going to fancy QPR to do it again. I think Preston recently have just been a bit iffy, and QPR have been a bit brilliant.
So Preston North End 0, QPR 2 is what I'm going to say, with goals for the away side coming from Charlie Austin, who's in great form. And then secondly, let's say the goal will come from, I mean, ultimately it could be anyone for QPR because this QPR team is in a lot of confidence. But right now I'm going to stick with the defender that is, of course, Lee Wallace. Alright, that wraps up my prediction for the penultimate game. Now let's do the final one. It is between, of course, Bournemouth and Cardiff City. Now watch this one because it's a very enticing game. Of course, at 7:45 Wednesday night, and it sees two very experienced teams, two very, decent teams, both been in the Premier League fairly recently. With Bournemouth, they've got rumours about a new manager coming in. We don't know who's going to be that manager, but at the minute they're keeping on going with their temporary guy. So I think Bournemouth, they're still going to be obviously targeting promotion automatically, but the most likely outcome right now looks like it will be the playoffs. But ultimately, there's talk about Thierry Henry. Jonathan Woodgate, the manager right now, is putting through a few strong messages, basically. And he's got a few injury updates for the likes of Steve Cook, Dom Solanke, David Brooks, Jack Stacey. So that team has been struggling with injuries, but they've come into this game against Cardiff hoping to basically put a dent in what's been a really good upturn in form thanks to Mick McCarthy's appointment. So, yeah, it's funny because it sees a new manager face what could be a new manager for Bournemouth in a few days' time. But I'm going to fancy Bournemouth. I think at Vitality they usually are pretty much comfortable at home, and they make themselves at home to get the win here. Bournemouth are going to win this one by 3-1. I know I've said that score a few times, but I'm going to go with it again. So goal scorers in this one, I predict that it will be, first of all, a goal from the defender that is Adam Smith. And then for Cardiff, I think they will respond in kind. And the goal for Cardiff will be coming from none other than the forward that is Kiefer Moore. What a player. But then Bournemouth will respond and basically pull away in the game and make it fairly comfortable. And their goals will be coming from, first of all, the man that scored in the win against Rotherham the other night. It's Philip Billing. And then the second, or should I say the third for Bournemouth, will be from defender. That is Diego Rico. And that wraps up my predictions for match day 32 of the Championship. I hope you have enjoyed. It's been a long one, but a good one, I'm sure. And smash a like on it. I'll see you in the next one.